All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos. And tonight, we're going to be discussing a little bit of some e-drama, although I'm going to have an angle that maybe you haven't heard yet. We're going to be discussing a little bit about what's going on over at Daily Wire with a rift that has emerged between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. However, I'm never really been a big fan of Ben Shapiro nor Candace Owens, really. And so my take on it is much less interested in what either one particularly have to say or their personal opinion, but how I see this actually impacting culture at large. And this has to do with a major shift in the Overton window. And so I want to discuss a little bit about this Overton window. For those of you who aren't familiar, the Overton window is a sort of theoretical concept in regards to acceptable political discourse. And what we're seeing and what I think the Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro is, because I speculate, is it even real? I wouldn't be surprised. It's hard to know what is real anymore, but it seems to be that Ben Shapiro is quite upset with Candace Owens taking a more moderate approach in regards to the Israel-Palestine conflict. And then again, and I don't know her sincerity in regards to her Christian values. A lot of the videos have been circulating in regards to an interview she did with Joe Rogan, which she was very hesitant to support the resurrection of Christ. So I'm not here to judge anybody's political sentiments and how sincere they are, but I want to say what we're watching right now in regards to, because there's a few things we're going to be getting into, not just the Ben Shapiro stuff, but Elon Musk. I don't know if you guys have seen him giving voice to some of the attacks on white people and how this is even associated with politically and progressively minded Jewish people. He's been the focus of the ADL, then talking about how X is a catalyst in the rise of anti-Semitism. But I see right now, and also I want to get into Osama bin Laden going viral over on TikTok. And again, what even that means, because anybody who's looked into the 9/11 stuff, the letter to America that Osama bin Laden supposedly wrote, again, I'm very skeptical about all this stuff, knowing that he was a CIA asset working with Mujahideen when the U.S. wanted to fight the Soviet Union. And so we'll be talking about how Osama bin Laden has gone viral over on TikTok, and this has been used by many progressives who, of course, they don't know history or know anything that's going on, sees now the Taliban as sort of freedom fighters. And this is all part of a psyop, I would argue. But the point that I think is interesting is the expansion of the Overton window, or essentially the Overton window moving to the right. I mean, can the Overton window move to the left any more than it already has? I suspect not. So we're going to be diving into a bunch of stuff, looking at Twitter. I'm going to bring up an article discussing this massive viral explosion of the letter to America that, again, Osama bin Laden supposedly wrote. I'm skeptical about it because it obviously posits and supposed to reinforce the official narrative of 9/11. So I'm skeptical, to say the least, but we're going to be diving into that. And then I want to discuss, and we're going to be watching a conversation that Tucker Carlson had with a gentleman named Douglas Mackey. And if you haven't heard his name, you should. And this is really how I'm kind of tying a few different things together, all this sort of pop cultural stuff with Shapiro and Owens and Elon Musk and Osama bin Laden. Well, Douglas Mackey, for those of you who don't know, is a man who posted a meme in 2016 of Hillary Clinton, and he has been prosecuted and found guilty by a federal court, and he'll be serving a federal prison sentence of 10 years. Yes, you heard me right. an American expressing a political meme on Twitter in 2016 was arrested, harassed, and has been found guilty by, I would say, a biased jury of 12 people from, I think it was Brooklyn, New York. Again, we're going to watch a little bit about this, for posting a meme of Hillary Clinton. And so how does that tie together with the expansion of the Overton window? Well, I think, and this is what I'm going to speculate here in the opening monologue, is that things are becoming a bit out of control. Again, there's a bit of a chaos that's emerging in regards to political rhetoric, the Israel-Palestine conflict, and such. So I argue that right now is actually a quite monumental historical period in political and public discourse in America. I know not everybody has an X account, and that's fine. And even what I have to say in regarding X and freedom of speech, X is the worst account that I'm on. I am the most shadow banned and censored on X.com, Twitter, Elon Musk free speech platform. But what's interesting is that I have never seen the amount of normie people talk about things such as, again, Jewish power, Jewish people in the media, Jewish NGOs, the outright criticisms of aspects of Islam, black on white crime. And so things that we would be hesitant to talk about, even those that were sort of red pilled or based, if you will, years ago, normie people are beginning to recognize something. They're getting ready to, they're learning to see something that they didn't see before. Patterns are emerging, patterns are connecting. And so, whatever, again, you think about Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens, I'm not that concerned about. Again, I personally not a big fan of either one of them. However, in this conflict, obviously, I'm going to side with Candace Owens and her opinion. That's basically, hey, look, both sides have killed children. Israel needs to stop bombing Gaza and killing children. You know, the idea that Israel can dictate water flow into Gaza and the West Bank or Palestine, that's not exactly freedom. And these are, again, normal, obvious opinions. But according to many in the sort of Zionist neocon establishment, which, again, this is really an interesting moment. We've talked about how the coup in 2020 sort of brought people's colors out in regards to the fear of the virus, demanding vaccines, all this different stuff, the jab. And we saw people freak out, right? Say that people their kids need to be taken away from them. They're a threat to society, all this different stuff. People sort of showed their true colors. And in a way, we're seeing the exact same thing right now, not necessarily in the expansion of the Overton window. I mean, I would say this is a good thing, but those that are afraid of the expansion of the Overton window. And so I have a video of Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO or president or whatever of the ADL. There was a secret recording that Iran just released today. I'm going to play it for you guys, in which he talks about how he's terrified by the younger generation because the support for Israel isn't so much a right-left dichotomy as it is a boomer and Gen X versus millennial and Gen Z dichotomy. And he's basically frustrated. Again, I'm not sure exactly who he's speaking to, but this private conversation revealed that he is very worried about the lack of support for Jews and the Zionist political establishment by millennials and specifically Gen Zers. So this is really interesting. Now, I've been critical of Gen Z. For those who don't know, 25%, I've done multiple streams on this, 25% of Gen Z actually identifies as LGBTQ. So in regards to propaganda, many of the things at foot, it's hard to kind of pinpoint what is the general, stance or what is the Gen Z opinion. It's obviously divided. We've seen Gen Z males become more and more conservative, and it seems like we're seeing Gen Z females becoming more and more progressive, generally speaking. But I argue that right now is a historic moment in the political and public discourse in America, that X.com, whether you think about it, again, I'm not a big supporter of Elon Musk. I'm very skeptical of Elon Musk. As I've told you before, I did a whole stream that Elon Musk is not your friend and that he's sort of the ultimate gaslighter, right? He says one thing and does another. He's critical of transgenderism. Then he has like a non-binary child. Again, I did a whole stream on it. You can go check that out. But what he is doing is he's certainly a catalyst, and him voicing support for things like, hey, why are all these progressive Jewish people wanting to flood Western nations with people of different value sets? Why are they always critical of white people or white Americans as anti-Semitic and racist when they're the most supportive people of the Zionist and Israel, uh, the state of Israel out of really any nation in the world? Seems like there's something afoot here. And so Elon Musk, again, we're going to be looking at all this stuff. But this Israel-Palestine conflict, similar to the Ukraine-Russia, I think it's really dividing both the left political establishment and the right political establishment. So Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, this is just indicative of the conservative movement, sort of those who are more Christian-oriented America firsters, which we've seen, well, I'll get to it in a second. And then the more traditional, normie, neocon, Zionist conservatism, which is the establishment. If you watch Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, almost all of them are all in support of one thing, and that is the protection of Zionism and the promotion of the state of Israel. But when you look at the left, that is being split by those of the sort of Joe Biden, Robert Kennedy Jr. promotion of, oh, Israel, Israel, Israel. Almost, again, you got Nikki Haley on the other side. But then you look at the sort of base of the Democratic Party and you see all this support for Palestine. So it's really interesting how this specific issue seems to be causing a division on both sides of the political spectrum. And then ironically, what we're finding then is those that are more Christian-minded America firsters are in a weird way, almost in a, I want to say alliance, but certainly, again, aided by the progressive left and expansion of this Overton window and talking about Zionism and its influence in the American political establishment. Now, this ties into Osama bin Laden. For those of you who don't know, and I'm going to show you an article, Osama bin Laden's letter, we were told, again, I'm very skeptical of the letter actually being written by Osama bin Laden, but he wrote a letter called A Letter to America, and basically highlights that the reason why Al-Qaeda performed the terrorist attacks on 9/11 was due to the fact that America supports this oppressive Zionist movement, and that the Jews have taken over the financial system, the media, and all sorts of institutions of power in America. And therefore, because we are a democracy, you can't really differentiate between civilian and non-civilian, and therefore attacking the World Trade Center as a monetary center is a symbol of an attack on this sort of Jewish hegemony, if you will. Now, like I said, this would insinuate that the 9/11 narrative is true, that we're told that, was it 19 hijackers were able to take over these planes and fly them into the Trade Center or the Pentagon, although, the Pentagon, where is the planes? That was an interesting one. Where's the evidence of the planes at the Pentagon? But for those that have kind of done a little bit of digging, we know that Osama bin Laden is actually and was a CIA asset. The fact that they wanted to dump his dead body when the SEALs found him in the ocean, very strange, right? You would think that somebody so hated, somebody so vile, that there would have been more of a confirmation of exactly who that was. Yeah, somebody says Mossad wrote the letter. I wouldn't be surprised, because I see the letter as a sort of psyop. But what's happened is on TikTok, it started to go viral. People were reading this letter to America, which reinforced the narrative about, well, Zionism and its sort of stranglehold on American politics. So this is fascinating, because all these Gen Zers who had never kind of dove into the truth or conspiracies regarding 9/11 are now reading the Osama bin Laden letter, supposed, and saying, oh my gosh, now I can understand what this is all about, in that America in the Zionist, power of Israel, this is a war, and that the Taliban are actually freedom fighters. Again, not understanding how all this works, and the fact that many American intelligence agencies have aided, specifically the CIA, in the construction of things like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and these various terrorist organizations. Same thing is true with Hamas. Don't take my word for it, but go look up Netanyahu's financial support for Hamas. it makes a little bit more sense, right? If you want to do something, or you want to conquer somewhere, or you want to take over, you create your enemy, right? It's a false dialectic. So you create your enemy, you fund your enemy, you arm your enemy. And let's say, for example, Israel, you allow Hamas to come in and create these terrorist attacks. Now, this ties into, again, this Overton window, because one of the most pro-Israel conservatives you can think of in modern American media is Charlie Kirk, right? And he's been so normie for a long time, right? He was in favor of mass immigration, and that's when the whole Nick Fuentes and the Groyper thing happened a few years ago. But Charlie Kirk had been to Israel. Was it TP USA or something like that? Turning Point USA, TP USA. They actually fund trips to Israel. And so, because Charlie Kirk had been there so many times, he knows that there's IDF soldiers everywhere when you go into Israel. How the heck was Hamas able to fly, you know, over the walls there, over the barriers, and take all these hostages? Now we know that Egypt and their intelligence agency informed Israel that this was going to happen. So it almost seems like this was a planned invasion to some degree. And so Charlie Kirk, one of the most pro-Israel people in American politics, has said, how the heck did this happen? I've been to Israel. I know how the IDF works. There's no way that they could have done that. And what happened? He was called anti-Semitic, the most pro-Jewish Israel person. And so people are beginning to notice, normie people are beginning to notice that you can't say anything critical of the state of Israel. You can't say anything critical about their political ideals, their feelings about the Palestinians, or even aspects of what the Talmud says about Christians and other faiths. So this is really interesting. Again, I'm not here to get into anything too contentious that isn't suitable for YouTube, but this is, I would argue, a historic moment in political discourse. So Elon Musk then has supported white identity, and we're going to show you some of these tweets, and has then garnered all this support by Americans of voicing, and this was what we'll see in the conversation between Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, is that she, a black woman, ironically uses rhetoric that when she talks about the critical racism and criticisms of white people, she says we, and that's because she's in a biracial marriage to a British man. And so she is talking about, well, why is it that for the last decade or so, critical race theory has been explicitly anti-white? The mainstream media, all the social media companies have been pushing a sort of anti-white rhetoric, and nobody pulled their money out. But as soon as some people protest Israel, say Harvard, the largest Jewish donors, who were the largest donors in general, pulled their money from Harvard. Well, why is it that as soon as somebody criticizes Israel, money gets pulled, but when people are criticizing whites, nothing happens? Interesting question. And when you see Tucker Carlson's response talking about, yeah, you're right, these people hate my children for the way they look, I'm mad at them. And this is, like, again, the expansion of the Overton window. So I want us to keep that in mind when we watch stuff. And so I would say X.com, despite, like I'm saying, it's the most censored. I get more reach on Instagram and Facebook, obviously YouTube, Telegram, than I do on X. You can't even find me. If you search my handle or my name on X, I don't even show up because I'm so shadow banned. And this has to do with Musk's policy of freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. Okay. And again, this is where Musk is the ultimate gaslighter. He talks about, the problems with the WEF, George Soros, and then he hires a woman who's literally working for the WEF to run X.com. Gaslighter. He's a gaslighter. But whether he's a gaslighter or not, the fact that he gives rhetoric to things aids in my thesis here about the expansion of the Overton window. And that comes down to my last point, this Douglas Mackey situation, in which he's being imprisoned federally up to 10 years for posting a meme about Hillary Clinton. Because I've been thinking about, just speculating, I can't predict the future, but the fact that so much of this rhetoric is being allowed on social media, and how does this relate to the regime, the powers that be, and how they're going to clamp down and sort of reorient? I don't know. But Douglas Mackey is somebody who posted a meme, and now he's going to spend time in prison. And when you hear the story about how the government went about the prosecution, they can't even find evidence. So he posted a meme that said, "Hey, Hillary supporters, text. You can now vote through text, send your vote at this phone number." The federal government couldn't even find a single person that texted the number and believed that they're actually voting for Hillary Clinton. And so, despite evidence that it was a form of what was it infiltrating the voting system or something like that, voter fraud, trying to confuse people, they convicted him based on what they believed to be his intention. Despite, how can you convict somebody based on an intention? You don't know what is in their heart. But that's the state of our federal government. And so he got arrested 7 days after Joe Biden was elected president. Yes. So the idea that this isn't political, it's absolutely the case. We see what the Biden administration's doing over of the J6ers. And so we live in a country that is held politically hostage right now. Politically hostage. And it seems like the rhetoric that's emerging, that again we'll be discussing, this is sort of the the frog trying to jump out of the pot. The water's getting hot here in America. The cost of living is going up. Nobody can afford a home. Millennials are basically the least likely generation to own a home. Everybody's going to have to rent things. The WEF tells you you're going to rent everything. You're not going to be able to own even your car. And so people are a little upset, and the rhetoric is spilling over even in the normie circles. So keep all this stuff in mind, because I think what we're witnessing is, it feels like a sort of revolutionary period in America. I was wondering about the Overton window, and maybe this is being allowed and accepted in a degree because it's going to cause more potentially political chaos or even cultural instability through actual conflict in the United States. I don't know. Hopefully not. I'm not sure where it's all going to go. But what would be the intention of the powers that be to allow all this stuff to occur? It's really worth asking oneself. But it feels like, in a way, we're in the beginnings of the American Bolshevik Revolution. The fact that a man's going to be sentenced to prison due to a meme, the fact that the presidential administration, we know for a fact, is going after its political dissidents. Again, whatever you think of Donald Trump, right? I'm not he's a little bit more liberal than I would prefer. But something strange is happening right now. And I'm of the same opinion of Colonel Douglas McGregor, where I'm very skeptical we're even going to have a 2024 election. I really would not be surprised if something massive happens. For those of you who didn't know, the Pentagon just failed their $3.8 trillion audit today. And if anybody who knows what happened on September 10th of 2001, the exact same thing happened. Of course, we had the terrorist attacks the next day. I don't know what's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of massive false flag or something occurs to derail the idea that we're going to have a political election in 2024, presidential election. I'm of the same opinion of Colonel Douglas McGregor. I don't know how they can allow it. We know that our elections are fake. I don't know if you guys have been following what's coming out of Fulton County in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Multiple states have found clear evidence, Arizona, of election fraud of 2020. What? You can't talk about this on social media. And yet actual courts are finding evidence, and this whole thing is coming out publicly. How can we have a normal election in 2024? I don't know. I'm skeptical. So keep all this stuff in mind and really think about today the cultural impact of this feud between Candace Owens, because is it legitimate? I don't know. I'm going to highlight the fact that, Candace got her start, and this shout out to our premium members. Candace got her start actually from a talent agency that was run by an Israeli pornographer. Now, does that mean she's not sincere in her opinions? Absolutely not. Does the fact that on Joe Rogan years ago, when she was kind of blowing up, that she was very reluctant to support the idea of Jesus Christ's resurrection, she's not a real Christian? I don't know. She could certainly change. I know I did. If you talked to me 6-7 years ago, I would have mocked the same people like Joe Rogan does, that now I'm out here, on my soapbox telling people that, Jesus Christ is king, which has also now been deemed anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic. Multiple Jewish people over on Twitter have been highlighting that stating Christ is king is now a dog whistle for anti-Semitism. Interesting. Very interesting. So we're going to dive into all this stuff. Smash that like, guys. Before we do, I just want to do a little bit of shilling as you know is customary. But if anybody would like to support my work, one of the best things you can do is become a website member. A website member for $5 a month, you can get an access to an exclusive video library. Here it is. And I'll be posting new videos coming probably Saturday. I'll have a new video up over at the website. This is a great way to support my work, get access to exclusive content. And we got a fitness membership, a Logos Premium membership, and shout out to my Logos Premium members because we had a meeting last night. And some of the stuff I'm about to show you guys today was actually shared in our meeting. If you want to have access to incredible private conversations of like-minded people from around the world, I do recommend becoming a premium member over at my website. These are conversations that, again, can't be held publicly on forums like YouTube due to censorship policies and hate speech, or not that we're hateful or anything, but you get it. But if you want to join some of these conversations, make sure you become a premium member. We would love to have you. Also, if anybody wants to sign up for a one-on-one session, you can do so with some of the links I'm sharing here. This is the link to sign up as a website member. This is the link to sign up for a one-on-one if you'd like to dive into life, goals, theology, philosophy, history of magic, fitness, whatever you're interested in. If you would like to have a sit-down one-on-one session, we can do that through Zoom with that link there. And also, if anybody wants to sponsor a stream, you can do so with this link right here. In addition, if anybody needs to grab a little something warm for the winter, feel free to check out my store over on the website. We got t-shirts, sweatshirts, winter hats, all types of stuff. And also, if you go to the store on my YouTube channel, we now have products up over there as well. In addition, if anybody is in the market for some Orthodox stuff, check out orthodoxdepot.com. They have icons, incense, candles, clothes, necklaces, all types of stuff. And if you use promo code COTEL, you'll get 10% off and you'll be able to help the program. I would greatly appreciate that as well. So please do if that is something that interests you. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's topic. First thing I want to talk to you guys about is what exactly is the Overton window? So an Overton window, as I said, is basically just acceptable political discourse. And what I'm arguing in today's stream is what's happening and what Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro really represents and why it's interesting. You know, I'm not really interested in gossip, so I really don't care. Okay, there's a feud. But what is interesting is the content of the discussion and how it relates to what I believe the expansion of this Overton window in regards to American politics. So the Overton window is a term used by the American policy analyst Joseph Overton, who stated that an idea's political viability depends mainly on whether it falls within the range rather than on politicians' individual preferences. According to Overton, the window frames the range of policies that a politician can recommend without appearing too extreme to gain or keep political office given the climate of public opinion at the time. And so this is really interesting because especially in regards to race, religion, the differences between Jews and Christians, I have never been aware of a time, at least since I've been alive, where it's becoming more and more and more prominent in conservative circles. Now, in regards to the legitimacy of Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, I don't know. This was something shared. Shout out to Jonathan, one of our premium members. He highlighted last night that, you know, Candace Owens got her start through this talent agency. It's actually this one right here. It's called exploretalent.com. And you can go on here and you can find people's profiles, whatnot. And I'm not saying she's not sincere because she was, again, a member of exploretalent.com. That doesn't mean anything. I did some modeling back in college, did some commercials and stuff like that. Does that mean that I had to go on a casting couch? No, it doesn't. So I don't know what exactly it means, but it's certainly worth highlighting again. And I'm not here to give any criticisms to her sincerity. I do not know her as a person. God bless her and her family. I know she's pregnant with a second child. But she has given great conversation in regards to the problems with the jibby jab, the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And so she's been right on multiple topics that have been very polarizing in the last few years. But I just wanted to highlight this real quick, not to shame anybody or anything like that. It's just interesting, right? So you can look at some of these female conservative influencers: Candace Owens, Lauren Boebert, Tommy Lauren, Melissa Carone. This was Rudy Giuliani's star witness in his election fraud. Scott Pressler, homosexual conservative influencer. Emma DeGovine, who is now Jesse Waters' wife. Jesse Waters, the Fox News analyst, divorced his wife, from my understanding, and married this chick, Anna Kate, Tara Price. So it's interesting that so many of the people that are kind of front and center, especially female conservatives, are tied to this talent agency. And so Amy Shafir, who worked here, very interesting because they are tied with a series of frauds. They ran porn companies, they ran modeling agencies, they ran dating apps, Jews only, or what's called J-Date, which Rabbi Shmuley Boteach would later claim defrauded him out of money in a bad business venture. It highlights that Shafirs were involved in illegal wiretapping, the use of bribed police officers, and alleged collection of blackmail material of American military officers who were secretly homosexual, and that was later transported back to Israel. Ties with organized crime, ripping off credit card customers, and even trafficking of expired drugs to be sold to minorities, all types of stuff. And so the relationship between Shafir and the Republican Party is not clear, but it's clear that conservative movement recruits women through his services. So again, does that mean Candace Owens or any of these women know who this guy is? No, it does not. It is interesting, though. It's interesting to bring up. So in regards to then what's kind of this fallout that's been happening, let's kind of scroll back and begin. So the first one is, let's see here. Where is the Ben Shapiro stuff? Here we go. So the first one I want to highlight, these are booked tweets and stuff that I just use whenever I see something I could use for a stream. I put it as a bookmark on Twitter. But Candace Owens had been kind of voicing some criticism of what's going on with the Israeli-Palestine conflict. And she had like a Jewish comedian on, in which she highlighted how it's interesting that, again, once Jews feel like they're attacked, all this money is being pulled out of universities, being ciphered off in various ways. But for the last decade plus, the same rhetoric that's been aimed at the majority demographic of the United States and Western European countries hadn't received the same hospitality by those people. And the guy was kind of, look at Tristan, Tristan's meme that he put. Hilarious. But anyways, this kind of came out, and she then put out this tweet that said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." And this is because a video, which we will see, came out of Ben Shapiro calling Candace Owens absolutely disgraceful for her comments on the Israel-Palestine conflict, and talked about how she had like a faux sophistication. Again, when we watch the Tucker Carlson video, he's going to include all this stuff, so I'm not going to show it to you now. But she put this tweet out. Obviously, okay, fine. This is scripture. This is scripture stuff. Well, Ben Shapiro took a little bit of offense to it last night, and this is where things really kicked off. So Ben Shapiro has the video that comes out, which clearly he was not aware. This was not a public event. It looked like some type of private Jewish event. Appeared everybody was very supportive when he started to criticize Candace Owens publicly. And so then he comes back, and this is from last night, 5:17 last night. Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means quit. And then she says, you've been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, which is true. The dude has been talking using genocidal rhetoric in regards to Palestinians. And anything and everything that is a criticism of Israel is now associated with anti-Semitism and is equal to being a Nazi. Now, I thought Ben Shapiro didn't like cancel culture. Seems to be he's very much supportive of it. And so, and we all have had to sit back and allow it, and have all tried to exercise exceeding understanding of your raw emotions. But you cross a certain line when you come for scripture and read yourself into it. I will not tolerate it. Okay. And so we see like Cernovich, who has had some terrible takes on Christianity lately, but he says, must be too expensive to hire or fire her, would require paying out some of the contract. Anyway, chill out, man. You've been wrong about most everything from Trump in 16 to the coup, to the Middle Eastern wars you supported, to Ukraine, Russia, right? I don't know if you guys saw, but Ben Shapiro was a huge supporter of Ukraine and its fight against the dictator Putin. Again, falling on the wrong side of history again. So Ben Shapiro doesn't have a very good record since Donald Trump on basically every major issue. I believe he also fell for the Russia-Trump collusion hoax that, again, was funded by Hillary Clinton. So anyways, this occurred last night. And so then Charlie Kirk chimes in, because Charlie Kirk, as I said, he's probably the most pro-Israel person in the conservative movement. And he has been labeled recently by Jewish people as an anti-Semite only because he expressed the fact that he's been to Israel and he knows how the IDF works. He knows that, every 15 feet you have a soldier with a gun in Israel. How the heck did Hamas were able to, again, perform the terror attack that they did? I'm genuinely confused why asking questions. So he comes in the support of Candace Owens. Asking questions and quoting Bible verses about peace warrants a call to resign from the Daily Wire. There should be more room in the conservative movement for disagreement. We can do better than this. And so it seems that, again, people are noticing. People are noticing something. Candace said, you are utterly out of line for suggesting that I cannot quote biblical scripture. The Bible is not about you. And so here is, again, Ben Shapiro's take. Remember this one. The jibby jabs are 95% effective in preventing you from getting the virus. Wrong. Also mitigates the severity of the disease. Wrong. 99% of those who actually get it will survive. Wrong. In other words, get the jibby jab, dopes. Hilarious. Wrong again, Benny. So anyways, that ties into stuff like, again, this expansion of the Overton window is not just in things that we favor, but the fact that somebody like Alan Dershowitz can put out a tweet to come to his live stream on Rumble and YouTube about sometimes attacking a hospital saves lives. What? What? This is the same Dershowitz that was on the Epstein flight list, right? The flight logs been, again, he'd been on Lolita Express a few times, that's for sure. Made it to Epstein Island. The big attorney for Trump. Interesting that Alan Dershowitz is telling people, hey, come listen to me live stream and talk about why Israel blowing up hospitals actually saves lives. What? What? This is, again, an expansion of the Overton window. Can you imagine somebody saying this just a few years ago? The chaos that we're seeing and the collapsing of the society, the chaos through these wars. This is, again, because of the chaos, things are coming to the surface that I think most people wouldn't say or were aware of before. In addition to this, we're seeing a shift in Elon Musk talk about, again, there's multiple tweets that I have where he has voiced support of people. Again, Jack Posobiec, I'm blocked by him on Twitter because I highlighted that he talks about being this trad Polish Catholic. And then Jack Posobiec supports, he did LGBTQ stuff. And so I remember it was during Pride Month. This was this was right when I started my Twitter account that I have. I highlighted this probably 2 years ago. I was like, dude, he was talking about like trad, Christian values and Christianity. And I was like, dude, you support LGBTQ, and then showed the tweet where he was showing support, and he blocked me. But anyways, maybe he's coming around too. I don't know the sincerity of people's intentions. So hopefully so. God bless everybody and their families. But Jack Poso says white people are the only ones who are supposed to hate their own race in order to be considered good people. And this is the prominent Ava, again, I can't even, Vlaardingbroek. She's from the Netherlands. She says, everyone is allowed to be proud of their race except for white people because we've been brainwashed into believing that our history was somehow worse than the other races. That false narrative needs to die. And if we really want to do a comparing game, white people have also done a lot of good for the world. And we see down here, Elon Musk. Yeah, this is super messed up. Time for this nonsense to end and shame anyone who perpetuates these lies. And this, we see another one. This was to a response of, I think I may have the original, but this guy is responding to a commercial that is basically trying to, again, it was a Jewish organization. It's like a father, or it looks like they're in like a pickup truck. So the experience they're trying to portray is like a conservative white American father and his white son are sitting in the truck. And he says, I saw what you posted. Hitler was right. And the whole thing is about how American youth are anti-Semitic and that the hate towards Jews needs to stop. And so this guy responded to the tweet saying, okay, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim they want people to stop using against them. I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest shit about Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You want truth said to your face? There it is. And Elon Musk said, you have said the actual truth. Okay. So this has led to the ADL, again, writing pieces just, I think, today and yesterday. And then these were supported by, like, again, the mainstream media conglomerates, talking about how X is now the catalyst for white on black racism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia in America. And so this was, what was this from? So here's the commercial right here that I was talking about. This was the original tweet. You have said the actual truth. And he says the ADL unjustly attacks the majority of the West, despite the majority of the West supporting the Jewish people in Israel. This is because they cannot, by their own tenets, criticize the minority groups who are their primary threat. It is not right and needs to stop. Interesting. Very interesting. Things are starting to heat up. This is a clip of Candace Owens. Again, we don't need to watch this per se, but it's of her on the Joe Rogan Experience back in, I don't know when exactly it was. I think it was a few years ago. Him mocking the idea that Christians believe in the resurrection and that Charlie Kirk was an evangelical Christian. And she doesn't really, she kind of slides past the idea of Christ's resurrection. Now, this ties into the story because she is very much explicitly in support of Christ is king, Christian values, and stuff like this. Now, this is something that didn't get a lot of attention that I wanted to share with you guys. And this was some of the rhetoric. So the pro-Israel march was yesterday in Capitol Hill, of which you guys probably saw the new congressman. He was holding hands with, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, dual citizen, and Nancy Pelosi, all on a stage holding each other's hands, talking about how they are support of Israel. And so we see, what was the first thing that the new Speaker of the Congress wanted to do was support and defend Israel. This is because he believes, according to himself, that the state of Israel is the same thing as the biblical framework of Israel. This is a lack of Christian theological understanding, because Israel are those who uphold the covenant. The first covenant was with Moses. It was the law. Christ fulfilled that covenant. Now the covenant is no longer about ethnicity. It's no longer about the flesh, as Paul says. It's about the spirit. And so Christ collapses the dialectic between Jew and Gentile, right? So now, though, true Israel is a spiritual Israel of those who are following Jesus Christ, the second covenant. So that is the theological framework for all Christians should understand. That's just biblical literacy. I mean, read Paul, it's right there. But unfortunately, American evangelical Christians and much of Protestants are a bit confused. It could due to their relativistic reading of Scripture. They believe that Israel is the same thing as the Bible, Israel. So, anyways, look at the hate that these people voiced towards this woman who says Jews say ceasefire now. I doubt you've probably heard this video. So check this out and hear if you think these are nice people.
Alive. They will film you.
Why don't you get kidnapped by them in Gaza and see if people come and save you? Because we should have a ceasefire and negotiate with terrorists. They're just going to say, oh, you stop bombing us, we'll stop bombing you. Here, take them back. Yeah, they'll just say, here, take them back.
Israel controls whether they have water, whether they have
No, we generously give them water. We generously give them
electricity. It's their land, my dear. It's their land that was taken from them.
It's not their land. Jesus was a Jew. Do you know that? He was born there. The Jews were there first.
Oh, there were no
Read the Torah,
Palestinians there.
read the Old Testament, read the New Testament.
I know that there's over 400 Palestinian villages that were destroyed in 1948. What's called the Nakba.
Who was here first?
Indigenous people.
Right. So should we all be kidnapped and tortured, our babies put in an oven because we took it from the Native Americans? No. But yet you're living here. I think we should torture you and your family. Let's cut open your stomach, take out your fetus and throw it in an oven and then smell it while they torture you and cut off your body parts and rape you, make you naked and drag you through the street.
I just wish your kids would be there.
Yeah, you are fucking so stupid.
I wish they will rape you alive. They will film you, and if your mother will be alive, they will send the video for your mother to see how you burn. That's what I wish. And this is, if this is okay for you, so I don't know what you made from.
To wish that anybody
it's terrible.
Be treated.
It's terrible that people had it.
I know.
People burned alive.
And it's
The
terrible.
mother watch it on TV, on the video, on the video.
You know what it
They
does?
film it.
It burns people alive.
Oh, they didn't. Why don't you go to Gaza?
Why
Why don't you go to Gaza to live there? Why don't you go there?
Like a
Why don't you go there? It's
By that.
love.
Let's be very clear.
In my ass, your ass. You don't know nothing.
Peace and love. Let's all live
Let's
together.
be very clear.
Okay, so again, I don't know who this woman is that's being attacked. I assume she probably is like a progressive feminist or whatnot. Maybe so, maybe not. But all she's doing is standing there with a sign that says Jews say ceasefire now. That's it. And you guys just saw the way that the pro-Israel crowd reacted to her. So this is my point, is that things are at a very interesting point in American political discourse. This also is very, very interesting. So Ben Shapiro, I'm praying that Dr. Taylor Marshall, who again is Catholic, I know that he hasn't been the biggest fan of Eastern Orthodoxy, and we pray that he eventually converts. You know, I pray that Dr. Taylor Marshall eventually becomes an Orthodox Christian. But he says, I'm praying that Ben Shapiro finds the faith in the only King of the Jews, our Lord Jesus Christ. And that he's responding, he's quote tweeting the tweet that you guys saw in which Ben was upset because of the Bible verse that Candace posted. Well, this is a prominent woman, a Jewish woman who's in the conservative sphere, talking about, again, more conservative topics. I think she's an author of some sort. And she says, this is anti-Semitic. And we have, again, a normie Christian. This is what I think is so interesting about what's happening with this whole thing, whether you think about Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens. This is a normal conservative woman here. Don't make enemies where you have none. Many Christians have shown sympathy towards Israel. It is unwise to call a core tenet of our faith anti-Semitic simply because you find it offensive. We want all people to believe in Christ. So it is not a unique feature we apply to Jews. And she says, if you want Jews to stop being Jewish, you are my enemy. Whoa. Whoa. That is some fierce language right there. See, here's the New York Post again talking about it. Elon Musk sparks backlash for endorsing anti-Semitic posts that Jews promote hatred against whites. I mean, well, who are the people who own the NGOs? And then this is tied then to what I want to show you guys from 2 days ago was the Iran apparently released this audio of the ADL director, Jonathan Greenblatt, who we know defames just about anybody. And I want to play this for you. This is the audio in which he, again, highlights the Tehran Times leaks a confidential recording that reveals the director of the ADL's concern about public opinion in the United States, especially among Generation Z, aka Zoomers, expect a smear campaign against Gen Z. So let me play this for you guys right here.
But I also want to point out that we have a major generational problem. All the polling I've seen, ADL's polling, ICC's polling, independent polling, suggests this is not a left-right gap, folks. The issue in the United States in support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And the numbers of young people who think that Hamas's, massacre was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem, that our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Taglit, the same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations, need to put our energy toward this, like, fast. Because again, like we've been chasing this left-right divide, it's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation, and the Hamas and their accomplices, they use.
Now, let me qualify. One of the things that has been that has been being played out here in American politics is that if you voice any support for Palestine, right? This happened to me. I was talking with somebody, and all I did was make a comment about Palestinian Christians and how, those are my brothers and sisters, and that innocent people, both Jew and Muslim, Christian, whoever, innocent people shouldn't be killed. But I voiced that my support generally leans with Palestine. That equated to me supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization, who, again, I believe is created and funded by Israel. But I digress. This is exactly what is being played out here. Any support for Palestine equals support for Hamas, which is, again, a lack of nuance and absolutely ridiculous.
Idiots in the West are falling in line in ways that are terrifying. Lastly, I'll just say, we saw a dramatic change in the language of the activists here in America on October the 8th. The language of groups that we've long tracked, who've long been problematic, like Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voices for Peace, they flipped like this and went to like Iranian propaganda. The language I could show you from their toolkits, because our analysts are in their groups. We saw this again on October the 8th. It was that fast. Like the language in their toolkits was all about the Zionist entity and lots of other language that we recognized from Iranian propaganda.
And so, again, that ties into my thesis here about the Overton window and why Jonathan Greenblatt seems to be quite terrified about this generational difference in their sentiments towards the state of Israel. So now, and then here's another one that Elon Musk had. So somebody posted a tweet, black guy, people shouldn't be racist against black people, judge people based on the content of their character. The crowd, yeah. Jewish guy, and people shouldn't be anti-Semitic. The crowd, yeah. White guy, and people shouldn't hate white people either. Crowd, racist, get him. And Elon Musk says, exactly. Now, tying in the Jonathan Greenblatt thing and why he's so worried about the Gen Z specifically, this has to do with, and I want to share this with you guys, this website has to do with Osama bin Laden's letter going viral over on TikTok, of which then Google began to try to hide any searches for, excuse me, sorry, the letter to America by Osama bin Laden, and also the Guardian deleted it. So the Guardian had a whole article about it. And breaking, Osama bin Laden's letter to America is removed from the internet. In a surprising move today, the Guardian removed OBL's letter to America Day after having posted it since November 24th, 2002. The reason? It was going viral on TikTok. TikTok, Israel, the rise. Let's read the rest of it. The rise of the Zoomers has begun. So this has been obviously a terrifying thing for the powers that be. But like I said, this letter, it perpetuates the actual, again, the official narrative of again 9/11. And so he, again, Vincent James highlights the dancing Israelis. I'll let you guys look into that. Okay. But let me share this website so you guys can have access to this. I'm going to put this right here so everybody can pull it up on your own. But again, you go through here, you see papers from the 80s. Anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace. That is Osama bin Laden. This is an American newspaper. This is the Independent. And so you can see how they heralded Osama bin Laden as a hero in the 80s. And so, and then here, if you guys want to read the letter, it's right here, of which he blames the Jews for the attack on 9/11. But like I said, this only perpetuates the official narrative. And when you think about the dancing Israelis and Israeli intelligence, thermite, the Tower 7, something more is at foot here. So anyways, with that being said, now let's get into the conversation between Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens that was posted just last night. And this has been blowing up in regards to this story. And so I want to highlight points where I think, again, play into the play into my thesis here about the expansion of the Overton window. So here we go.
In 1616, the Roman Inquisition hauled in Galileo, the Italian astronomer, and commanded him to stop saying that the Earth revolves around the sun. Shut up, they said. Everyone knows that's wrong, and you're a bad person for saying otherwise.
Actually, before we get going, we got some super chats. I'm going to answer all the super chats here real quick. So if you have, again, if you guys want to show some support and you want to be, say something about the topic today, I'm going to bring up all super chats as they come in. So that was the sort of opening monologue there. Testicular Tactics throws in $2 and says he's boiling an excrement. Now send more money. I think we know what that's a reference to. Thank you very much, Testicular Tactics. Petra Garde throws in $5 and says, this super chat says absolutely nothing. It does, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Peanut Arbuckle throws in $2 and says, W stream WDPH. Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate that you like the stream so far and that this is a W. And again, honestly, I feel more comfortable doing this stream now because, again, all this rhetoric is out and about right now, that it seems like things are a little bit loose in regards to the conversation we're having today. Shout out to Slowboy Whiteboard. God bless you, sister, and your family. She says, Pierce Morgan just had Rabbi Shmuley and Muhammad Hijab on his show, and it was like dumb, and dumber. Yeah, I bet. Gosh, Pierce Morgan, he's another one who kind of flip-flops, gaslighter, and tends to always be on the wrong side of history. So that's unfortunate, but thank you so much for that. And we had a super chat over on Streamlabs. Let me find it real quick. So this one has a little bit of language. I'm not going to address it too much, but a gentleman threw in $5 who has an unfortunate name, and he says, you have an English last name, let you slick your hair back like a greasy Italian. You my N-word, though. Well, thank you very much for that. But yeah, anyways, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for the support. And then over on Dono Chat, we have no super chat. So again, for everybody, as we go through tonight, if you want to throw some, show some support, feel free to use the Dono Chat link or the Streamlabs link. They take a lot less than YouTube does. YouTube takes 30%. But if you prefer to use YouTube, you can, and all your comments will be brought up, or super chats will be brought up on screen. So thank you very much for that. Okay. Let's now get back to it.
That's a well-known story, of course, and we laugh about it now 400 years later because the authorities were completely wrong. Galileo is a hero. They are fools. And we explain this by pointing out that they were religious nuts. They were superstitious. Nothing like that could ever happen now. But it turns out the one constant in human history is human nature. Not only does it happen now, it happens more than ever. Watch Candace Owens get widely attacked, not by one person, but by everyone for being right.
People like Candace Owens and others have been flagrant at putting out disinformation into the public sphere.
The top performing post of the week was this post by Candace Owens, a far right-wing commentator and a favorite on Fox, denigrating George Floyd. It just shows how this website is a radicalization engine.
You do have this sort of parade of MAGA world that are parroting Russian talking points.
Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Tulsi Gabbard, I think somewhere along the line, they don't believe this, but they think that it's in their interest to say these things. These people are almost collaborators.
That Candace Owens video was the top video on Facebook this past week, and she's saying all sorts of things about George Floyd and denying any systemic racism problems. And so there's a deeper fundamental issue with what the Facebook algorithm and all social media algorithms, what kind of content they reward.
Others doubled down on vaccine disinformation. Folks like right-wing commentator Candace Owens, who told followers that she wouldn't take the vaccine, even on her deathbed.
Notice why they were attacking Candace Owens. What did she say? She said, well, actually, George Floyd was not murdered by a racist cop, much less by a systemically racist society. She said, actually, the vaccine doesn't work very well and it may be dangerous. She went on to say, no, Ukraine is not going to win the war against Russia. And for saying these things, every one of which is proven true, she was attacked as an immoral person, a racist, and a traitor to her country. What's interesting, however, is that no one leveling those attacks has ever apologized to her. And so maybe like Galileo, she's going to have to wait for her descendants to get the praise for her truth-telling. And we thought that seems unfair. So we decided to invite Candace Owens into the studio and congratulate her face-to-face. Candace Owens, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, you're about to have another descendant.
Actually, yeah, 40 weeks, but I was not missing this. I was so excited.
so
I'm
nice.
honored to be here.
Well, so it's a little weird to see yourself. Look, we all get things wrong. I certainly have gotten a lot of things wrong. I think it's fair to be attacked for getting it wrong. But if you get it right, and it's proven that you got it right, and in 3 instances it has been proven that you did on the biggest issues of the day, shouldn't the people who attacked you apologize? And shouldn't someone at least point out, hey, Candace Owens was right about that?
No, I think what tends to happen is they have too much ego and they're too proud, and they want to sort of move on and pretend that they weren't as radical as they were in their stances, and calling you a grandma killer, if you wanted to go out the door and get groceries, or if you wanted to maybe see your grandma, because grandma shouldn't be dying alone, even if she is dying. So it takes a tremendous amount of humility to admit that you were wrong. People prefer to then pretend the internet will forget and just that they had more nuance than they did on the issue of the day, which is fine with me. I'm totally.
I mean, it's one thing not to admit you're wrong. I understand it's difficult to do that. I have to force myself. But to attack other people for being right and then apologize for it does seem immoral.
It is immoral. And when we're living in an environment where there is a lot of media immorality, people would rather you parrot certain talking points rather than have a meaningful discussion and a meaningful dialogue. And they don't accept it. And at the moment that they start to censor speech and they start talking, calling you names, like calling you a grandma killer, calling you a pro-Putin puppet, it's because they don't actually believe what they're saying. It's just, these are ad hominem attacks to dissuade from having an actual debate. And there always should be an actual debate on that issue.
And when they never explain what you got wrong, they don't call it wrong, they call it disinformation, which suggests it could be right. That's usually a tell. And speaking of, so I was out of the country yesterday and didn't have adequate internet access on the plane to really follow this. And I don't understand the context exactly, but the internet was dominated yesterday by video of Ben Shapiro, who you work with at the Daily Wire, I think it's fair to say, attacking you. Here's the video. I just want to get your reaction to it.
Yes, the question is about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this is disgraceful. Without a doubt. I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making, the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
So maybe there's a point in the video where he explained.
Before we go on there, it's, you know, what exactly the faux sophistication? She hasn't made explicit points about either side. It's not like she's promoting Palestine explicitly against Israel or considers Hamas freedom fighters. And yet Ben Shapiro is quite upset. And another interesting thing that comes out in this interview is that the Daily Wire crew all live in Nashville, Tennessee. And when they record their shows, they're all together, except one person, Ben Shapiro, who lives in Florida. And so I love how Ben Shapiro talked about how she still works for my company. Well, Ben Shapiro is not the CEO of Daily Wire. Yes, I know he's a part founder, and I'm sure he has a considerable amount of stock or whatever in regards to the company, but he is actually not part of the day-to-day crew. So when you're talking about Knowles and Owens and Clavin and all these different guys who, again, I've never been a big Daily Wire fan per se. They're all doing their stuff in Nashville, Tennessee. And so it's funny how they're all friendly with each other. And yet Ben Shapiro has been outrageous lately in regards to his Israel rhetoric. And he's actually separated from all of them. He's doing his own thing down in Florida. But anyways, continuing on here.
Explain what exactly you did wrong, how you were wrong. I haven't seen it.
And we got a super chat that came in over on the Dono chat. I want to give a special shout out to John Bowlerman. He says, thanks, Brosif. There's a lot of noticing happening. Yes, there is a lot of noticing happening. Thank you very much, brother.
To call somebody, quote, absolutely disgraceful, particularly a coworker, seems like a pretty big step. What? And I really don't know the background here. What is that about?
You know, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it when I woke up.
No one warned you about it.
Nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like it was some sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on. And in what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he's saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not, we disagree, or
yeah.
I don't think she's correct, or maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed in that, at least in that short clip, that he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what I said. But I will say that I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks. Yes. I don't think it helps further discussion. And if that was me that was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
Has he texted you to apologize or explain or anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was sort of something that he said. And you know what? Ben and I have many disagreements, so I don't think that that's particularly something that's interesting. We disagreed on the COVID vaccine. We disagree on Ukraine and Russia. He has taken virtually every stance that has been the opposite of mine on every issue over the last 5 years. So I don't think that that's particularly remarkable.
Vaccine. Really, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he was pro the COVID vaccine. I was anti the vaccine. We were all idiots for not getting the vaccine. So that's totally fine. I am totally open to people having a difference in opinion.
Right.
I would hope that amongst colleagues that it would always be a civil disagreement. And I would never in a private event stand on a table and talk badly about Ben.
It's a little weird. So he was on the left on those three biggest issues of our time, is what you're saying?
He has converted his opinions. He's accepted responsibility. He said, I was wrong about the vaccine.
Oh, good.
He is, obviously pro pharma. His mom's a doctor. And I say to people, I'm very...
And he definitely lets you know that his wife is a doctor too. Smash that like for everybody who's here. God bless y'all.
Aware of my perspectives on big pharma, and I talk about it on my show openly. And I think that that's a tremendous credit to the Daily Wire that they allow a difference of opinions. But I as I said, hope that it would remain respectful and that you wouldn't throw your colleagues under a bus, so to speak.
I think that's fair. And just for clarity, because I really don't know, is he your boss?
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about Ben's involvement. He's not the CEO of the Daily Wire. He is not making the day decisions of the Daily Wire. And I do want to make it very clear because people are like, how could you possibly stay at Daily Wire after this? I have a very good relationship with the co-CEOs of the Daily Wire. Especially right now, the acting CEO is Caleb Robinson. He's a wonderful person. He's worked very hard to be where he's at. We have a lot in common that we connect on. And so people don't get to see that, which is unfortunate. Ben lives in Florida. He's not a part of the day-to-day movement of the Daily Wire. The rest of the hosts have their shows situated in Nashville. So we see each other every day. We talk. There's great camaraderie. And there's actually more agreement. There's actually a lot of people that are, as I describe myself, just pro-America first. And I think I've been that way consistently throughout my political career Whether people agree with it or not in different moments is up for debate. But I don't want that video to become a reflection of how the Daily Wire works and the Daily Wire operates, because I have had a very good experience with the CEOs, and love Michael Knowles, love Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan. We all get along really great.
Well, it certainly speaks well of the Daily Wire then. So it's not, I mean, a clip like that on the internet, oh, Candace Owens is out or something. That's not, doesn't sound like that's what it means.
Yeah, no, it's a small group of people. We see each other every day.
Right.
Brett Cooper is another one who just joined about 2 years ago. She's great. She's up and coming. And there's a lot of stuff that we're working on. And that's why I think this video is even more unfortunate, because people see him as a figurehead, rightfully so, of the Daily Wire. And it allows people to, speak energy into the Daily Wire that isn't necessarily there, because he's not there on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, that's very interesting. So if we could take 3 steps back and give us the context for this debate, how are you on different sides of it? I haven't heard you endorsing Hamas. Like you're not. No.
Well, I have not endorsed Hamas in any way, and yet people have interpreted things that I say, or actually rather things that I don't say. It's becoming very much reminiscent to me, and why I have used my platform to say this, of Black Lives Matter, where if you don't say anything, they say your silence is violence. If you say something and it's even-handed and it's nuanced, which is to say, during the times of Black Lives Matter, you might say, I don't support police brutality. Who does? I don't support racism. Who does? But also, I think that police are a crucial part of every city. We need to have policing in cities. So these calls to defund the police are immoral and wrong and are going to lead to more Black deaths. People didn't want that nuance. When following George Floyd, there was no nuance. You had to explicitly say defund the police. You had to post a Black square. If you didn't post a Black square on Instagram, by the way, specifically on the platform of Instagram, and you maybe were busy that day, maybe you were in another country, maybe you just didn't log on to Instagram, you were accused of being a racist. I'm seeing a lot of that behavior right now when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a conflict that I have seen every single person, including myself, condemn what happened on October 7th. Because who wouldn't condemn terrorism? It's obvious. Who would not condemn innocent Israelis dying? But if you then say that it is also sad when an innocent Palestinian child dies, suddenly this is pro-Hamas, or you need to say, even when you're talking about how sad it is that a child dies, you need to button that statement by saying, but that child was a human shield. That's not going to be my response. First off, as a mother, that's not going to be my response as somebody who is about to give birth. When I see these images of children involved on both sides of the conflict, I've pointed to the people that are mocking dead Israeli children and said that they are horrific. I am even keel on this matter, and yet people think that you need to be extreme. So people that have become more radical and extreme are perceiving a moderate stance as not enough. And
because I was about to say, people can disagree with you or agree with you or whatever, but you certainly don't seem radical on this topic.
Definitively not radical.
Want to give a special thank you to Tommy Jones, becomes a new COTEL crew member. Thank you so much, Tommy Jones. God bless you, brother. Appreciate your support. And we got a couple super chats that came in over on the Dono chat. Dave throws in $25. Thank you very much, Dave, and says, I tuned out of the Daily Wire about 2019 because I noticed they never focused on any of the important issues of our time. True. They make suffrage news. Alex Jones was right. Thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, outside of some of the stuff Matt Walsh does, I know that his documentary, What is a Woman? That was really powerful, just to open people's eyes on the actual state of sort of the gender issues going on in the universities. But I agree with you. I've never really been a Daily Wire person. It just seemed a bit milquetoast to myself. But God bless them. Again, it sounds like most of them are moving towards the more right side of things. Orpheus says the Jew resents the white Christian because they recognize and worship Christ, the true Messiah. Why do you think they're genociding Russia and the Ukrainians, for that matter, via proxy Ukraine? Well, I agree, Orpheus. I mean, I think it's because the Orthodox Church is the true church. And so whether it be Palestine, Russia, or Ukraine, the common denominator is Orthodox Christians are dying. And so, yeah, I think as Christ said, before they hated you, they hated me. And that's why we need to be strong. We need to form formidable relationships with each other and be supported by our brothers and sisters in Christ. But thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
My stance has not changed in terms of whether or not America should be involved in this conflict, whether we were talking about Afghanistan, my comments have been clear, they've been documented for years, whether we are talking about Ukraine and Russia, my comments have been clear and they have been documented. I mean, you can go back to me even talking about NATO expansion before things erupted between Russia and Ukraine, and having a meaningful discussion about how much expansion is too much expansion. How would we feel if we had troops on our border? These are things that should be allowed in an academic discussion. You should be able to sit on stage and should be able to debate these ideas without using ad hominem attacks to say that you're a pro-Putin puppet or you're pro-terrorism. Even in the aftermath of 9/11, something that we all remember as part of my childhood. I think I was in 7th grade at the time, and I'm born in the New York City area, so this was a very big deal. If a person the day after 9/11 wanted to debate the Patriot Act, it's not fair to call them terrorist sympathizers.
No.
Actually, they would have been proven right in the long run. That act, we give up a lot of our freedoms. And I think there was only one congressman, a Republican, that was against the Patriot Act at that time. So it's important.
And who was that? That was Ron Paul. So God bless Ron Paul and everything that he did. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Tatiana, our Orthodox sister Tatiana throws in $20. Thank you very much, Tatiana. She says, this noticer noticed Mr. Facts over Feelings sure flipped his little hat over Christ's words. That says so much. Anyway, God bless you and everyone in the chat. Well, thank you so much, Tatiana. And I agree. I noticed the exact same thing, that seems like his feelings are trumping his facts as of late. But thank you so much, Tatiana, for the generous super chat. God bless you and the family. Hope you guys are doing well.
Actually, when you start making decisions in a highly emotional time, that people sit down and have these academic debates. And there are people that are saying, no, it doesn't matter because people are dead, that you need to just choose a side, and that needs to be it. It needs to become tribal.
There's also, I can't help but notice that your views reflect mine, I would say pretty much. I'm an American. I was horrified by what happened on October 7th. I think it was pretty strange. I don't really understand how it happened, but innocents died, and that's awful. And I hated watching it. And I feel so sorry for the Israelis who were killed. However, there's an emotional response that is disproportionate, I think, on the part of some commentators. I mean, our country's being invaded, right?
And pay attention, this section right here where Tucker Carlson, the point he's making is the manipulation of emotion in regards to the American populace to support things that are overseas and irrelevant to the day-to-day life of Americans, and yet not have emotional reactions and responses to things that are affecting us on a day-to-day level. And this clip right here has been circulated to, again, now insinuate that Tucker Carlson is an anti-Semite because he doesn't have enough emotion and he's not enough upset about what happened on October 7th. What? Anybody who watches this and thinks he's giving voice to anti-Semitism is absolutely insane. But I wanted you to watch these next 2 minutes because this clip right here has been taken out of context for that purpose.
Right now, by millions of young men whose identities we don't know, who probably don't even like America, and they're now living here. Over 100,000 Americans die every year of fentanyl. I've known a couple. Those are real tragedies. I've never seen anything like the emotion from any commentator around those tragedies as I'm watching about a foreign tragedy. I think that's odd.
I think what tends to happen is, of course, we all have elements of selfishness within us. And so when it particularly pertains to an issue that impacts you, I was strongly speaking out against Black Lives Matter as an organization very early on as a conservative because I understood what the implications were going to be of defunding the police.
Right.
It was an issue that was important to me. I created an entire documentary to talk about this issue.
Yes.
And I held on for a long time, and people began to see that actually I was telling the truth. And now we have more death in inner city communities than we had before.
Yes.
These riots and these George Floyd protests calling for defunding of the police. And I think in terms of this, that's what's also happened is that people that are pro-Israel are pro-Israel, a lot of them, because they have family members in Israel.
I get it.
They have homes in
Yes,
Israel.
yes.
And so they feel very attached to this issue. And, you know, I was very happy to host somebody
Dual citizenships, like our Congress and Senate.
who was pro-Israel. He's a pro-Israel comedian on my show the other day. And I explained this to him. I said, you know, you are demanding that we have this same response that you are having about what people are saying on college campuses. The rhetoric on college campuses hasn't changed. Did you not remember what they were saying, what professors were saying, the anti-white explicit racism that was happening, and not even just allowed in terms of student protests, but was written into the curriculum curriculum at these universities for years. People were learning this actively in school, that whiteness was associated with wrongness. You had college professors that were writing about this need there need to be less white people in America. You can find these articles. They exist online.
They're everywhere.
They're
and
everywhere.
that seems genocidal. I mean, if you're
It
saying
is genocidal.
like by definition, if you're saying being a certain ethnicity or race is itself a sin and we need less of you, I mean, that is the definition, is it not?
Right. It was an understanding of needing to breed out white people. It was unbelievable what I was seeing, and I was impacted by it because.
And this conversation right here, talking about race in America and the West, this is something that it'd be difficult for people to have a few years ago. Even Tucker Carlson, think about some of the stuff he was saying, let's say 3 years ago, 4 years ago during the Trump administration, and listen to the next 5 to 10 minutes here. This is a new state in regards, again, the expansion of the Overton window in American politics.
Because I'm in a biracial relationship and I have biracial children. So you are telling me that my children are going to have to decide between whether or not they are white oppressors or they are Black victims. It doesn't stand for me. So I was attached to this issue, and it's something that I fought for hard on college campuses, and there was no support. There was nobody talking about, well, this is what needs to go. These kids need to go onto blacklists. And by the way, if they did speak that way, I would have disagreed with it, because I am pro 1A. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that kids, by the way, are naturally stupid. In case people forget, I started on the left, right?
Yeah.
So if you found me in college, you would have found a pro-life person who believed, in some racist principles, fundamental racism in America, because that was what I was being taught systematically in the classroom. And then I got to grow up and change my mind. And I don't think people have thought past their immediate emotions to consider what's going to happen when you put these kids on blacklists. You think that's going to bring them over to the pro-Israel side when they get older? Most of these kids, especially when you're talking about the cream of the crop at these Ivy League universities, already have access to money and wealth and connections. And so maybe debating the issues and explaining to them why it was wrong to sign this specific letter, which didn't call for explicit violence against the Israelis, but it actually was very poorly timed, and it blamed them for what happened, which would have been horrific. Imagine after 9/11, somebody issues a letter on college campus that says, "Oh, well, sorry about the fire department."
I agree.
Yeah,
I get why donors are mad.
Imagine,
and by the way, I support donors giving money to things they agree with.
Yes, I support that.
I strongly do.
Yep.
The part that, and so I have no problem with that at all. You don't like it, don't pay for it. Good for you. However, then I thought, well, wait a second. If the biggest donors at, say, Harvard have decided, well, we're going to shut it down now, where were you the last 10 years when they were calling for white genocide? You were allowing this. And then I found myself really hating those people, actually. That you're okay with that? On what grounds were you okay with that?
And this is what I've been trying to explain to the pro-Israel lobby, that what you are seeing as lack of support is people that are asking the question is, where were you as we have endured all of this?
You were paying for it, actually.
Right.
You were paying for it.
You were paying for it.
You were calling
okay
my children immoral for their skin color. You paid for that.
And
so why shouldn't I be mad at you? I don't understand.
And so that is, obviously you have a ton of white people that are asking this question, and they're now being called anti-Semitic. And I think that that's wrong. I think these are meaningful questions that deserve to be answered. Why was this sort of verbiage allowed into the curriculum? I mean, could you imagine if in the curriculum it said that every Jewish person born is a terrorist? This is systematically what has been said.
I would be totally opposed to that.
You're learning this, not even just, by the way, at the college campus level, in high schools. I covered this on my show at high schools, that they are now allowing children to stand up in an auditorium during, not Black Lives Matter week, during, what is February? Whole month of February, African American month. I'm totally Black History Month. I was like totally blanking. I'm like, what is February? Black History Month. They were allowing at this very elite school $50,000 per month to attend the school, per year to attend the school, for these children to stand up on a stage and yell in an auditorium. Black kids were allowed to be on the stage. White kids were sitting down at this elite school, and they said, "You don't know what we lived through. You don't understand how your whiteness impacts me." This is going on in New York City right now. That is explicit anti-white racism that is happening. And I covered it on my show extensively. Nobody cared. There was no bus calling these kids anything wrong. And so trying to explain that, of why people maybe are not reacting with the amount of vigor that you would like to see, is now being interpreted as anti-Semitism. So everyone's being called anti-Semitism.
It's a little bit like watching the city of San Francisco in the week before Xi Jinping shows up become totally clean, sparkling clean. There are no junkies or rapists on the street. And you feel like asking the authorities, well, wait, you had the power to do this, but you didn't? You had the power to stop racism at Harvard, but you didn't? Why are you not a criminal, actually, for allowing that? I don't have you asked anybody this? Like direct, have you asked a donor this? I've been trying to get one on the show. I support what you're doing. It's great. Don't pay for what you don't like. But you did like the white genocide stuff. You're kind of okay with that, huh?
Right. And I've even asked, did you use your platform to speak out against it? Because I've been speaking out against this for years. And now you're demanding that I use my platform to focus on a conflict that's overseas.
Yeah.
And the answer I tend to get is no. I didn't talk about what was happening. I didn't realize it was happening. So it actually is quite a selfish viewpoint, which we all have. We're all guilty of.
Oh,
I get it. We write ourselves into the storyline. How is this going to impact me? And that is, I think, is why it feels existential for other people and not existential for people that have been dealing with this for the last decade.
I know, but it's a pretty simple principle that, existed at 54, I can tell you, in this country for a long time, certainly from, say, the Civil Rights Act until, 15 years ago. You're not allowed to attack people on the basis of their race in public. Everybody has bigoted views, probably, or thinks their group is best or whatever. It's pretty normal. But you're not allowed to say, I don't like you because of your race. Like you're not allowed to do that. Why can't we just return to that standard? I'm missing it.
Right. And this has been a dialogue that I think some of us have been having for years. Some people are just now jumping into this dialogue. And I don't fault them, their emotion, but I'm not going to become a radical and rise to that level of emotion. I think my takes have been very moderate. Even people that are reading into things that I haven't said are unable to explain to me why what I'm saying is not okay. They can't point to a specific sentence that I said that was wrong. It's more about how they're reading into the sentence, which if it's how you are reading into it, that is your emotion. And as I said, my views have not shifted since I got into the political sphere. I have always been pro the First Amendment. I have always been pro staying out of foreign conflicts. And I'm sorry if that feels to you like a personal attack. There's this wonderful Thomas Sowell quote where he says that people that are used to special treatment, when you start to treat them the same, feel like they're being discriminated against. He says it much more eloquently. He's Thomas Sowell, Dr. Thomas Sowell, but that's the gist of it. And I think that what we're seeing right now is things that are being perceived as a discrimination, and it's not discrimination. I'm just treating you the same as everyone has been treated. And throughout at least my dialogue and the things and monologues throughout the last 6 or 7 years.
Yes.
And I do also want to say that I find it particularly despicable, as I have said on my platform, when people who are pro-Israel are now being called anti-Semites for asking meaningful questions. I talked about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, following the attacks on October 7th, turned to the Israeli government and said, how did this happen? He talked about Israel being the size of New Jersey. He's been there many times. He funds thousands of students to go there and to visit. He's honestly radically pro-Israel, I would almost say. It's probably a fair thing to say about Charlie Kirk. Yeah. And he was asking these questions with the intent of, if these were your children and they were involved in this horrific attack, wouldn't you want to know these answers? He's like, you can't move 5 feet without seeing an IDF soldier. I've been to Israel, and that is a fact.
I have too, a number of times, and I admire their border barriers. Mm-hmm. I always have. I always think, I wish we had that. So it's a totally fair question.
Totally fair question that he asked, and it got interpreted, and then there were suddenly these attacks asking the question of whether Turning Point was seeping with anti-Semitism, and how unfair to, after all of the work that he has done to support your cause, turn your back on him and to call him an anti-Semite because you don't like a question that he asked that actually was being asked from the heart and with a little bit of rage toward this even being allowed to happen. We always have to hold our governments accountable in how they are responding.
And plenty of Israelis, some of whom I know, are asking that question, and why wouldn't they? So you said a minute ago that one of your concerns about having a news story.
Okay, now I want to change our focus because now it gets into 2024 politics, Nikki Haley, this type of stuff. That's way less interesting. What I want to turn to is Douglas Mackey, the gentleman, again, who posted a meme about Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election and how he was then arrested 7 days after Joe Biden took office. And this is scary because as we talk about the expansion of the Overton window, as we talk about new political discourse in America, at the same time this is happening, we have an authoritative, tyrannical U.S. government that is explicitly going after political dissidents. This should raise the hair on the back of your neck once we watch this. And we'll stop it and go through, but you got to watch this one. This is way more important than the Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro beef going on. This is about the fact that everything is being watched, and he'll highlight it at one point that the U.S. government spent millions of dollars to put this guy in jail for posting a meme, and how there's these federal laws that if you post something online, it goes through wires, and therefore they can try you in any federal district across the country because it's all part of, again, like a sort of wire, I guess it's a sort of a national crime or something, but you got to watch this. So the rest of the Candace Owens stuff, you can check it out. Go to Tucker's X profile, but it gets into like Nikki Haley, how she's running to be president. Okay, yeah, we get it. Let's get into something a little bit deeper. This is important. So check this out.
If someone had told you even 10 years ago that you could be indicted by the federal government and go to prison for 10 years for making fun of Hillary Clinton on social media, you would not have believed it. It's a free country. We have free speech. But it turns out not only is that possible, it has likely become much more common because the actual war is over information. One of its first casualties is a man called Doug Mackey, who during the 2016 election made fun of Hillary Clinton on Twitter, and then a few years later found himself the subject of a federal raid, an indictment, and then a conviction. It's a shocking story. It's hard to believe it's happening in this country, but it is. And to prove it, Doug Mackey joins us now. Doug, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Tucker.
So I've never even seen you in person before. You have not, I don't think, spoken about this publicly, or at least very often, since it happened. So give us just a quick background on who you are. I read, I think, in BuzzFeed that you were a dangerous white nationalist militant. Are you?
No, not at all.
You don't seem it. Where are you from?
I grew up in Vermont.
In Vermont?
Yes.
Not a hotbed of white nationalist militancy. And where'd you go to college? What were you doing during the 2016 election, et cetera?
I graduated from Middlebury College, which
Yes.
is also in Vermont.
Yep.
And then I moved to New York. I lived there about 6 years. That's where I was at the time of the election, the 2016 election.
What were you doing?
So I had just left my job, but I was previously an economic researcher.
Huh. So first, like a Wall Street firm or something like that?
Something like that, corporate America.
Yes. So what were you doing during the 2016 election?
So I was posting a lot of stuff on Twitter under a pseudonym about the election.
What kind of stuff?
Pro-Trump memes, jokes, all kinds of links, that kind of thing.
Why were you doing that?
Just purely out of passion.
So you like Trump?
I like Trump, that's right.
Why?
I thought he was a breath of fresh air for the country. I think that his analysis of the problems with the country, with the ruling class of the country, I liked what he was saying, and I thought he had a positive vision for the country.
Where were you politically before the 2016 election?
I was sort of conservative. Previously, I was sort of libertarian, but earlier in my life, I was sort of apolitical.
So you weren't a lifelong political activist?
No.
But you got excited about Trump and you decided to support him on social media. At the time, did you think that was your constitutional right?
Yes, absolutely.
Why'd you think that?
Well, I thought that this was America. I thought that we had a First Amendment, due process rights, that we could criticize people in our ruling class.
It looks like you thought wrong. So let's get specific about what you did, the crimes, the felonies that you committed on Twitter. I want to put this up. You posted this on Twitter. This is a meme. It says, "Save time, avoid the line, vote from home." And it's got a picture of Hillary Clinton. Text Hillary to this number. Did you make this meme?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't create this?
No.
Where'd it come from?
I found it on 4chan.
Okay, so it was floating around the internet.
Yeah, these kind of memes were floating all over the place.
And you posted it on Twitter. What was the point of that?
Well, pardon my French, but it was called a shit post.
Yeah.
We talked about this a lot at the trial. I testified. Just sort of a joke, rile up everybody, muddy the waters. And mostly just because I thought my audience would find it funny.
Did they?
Yeah, absolutely.
I find it hilarious. You're obviously from Northern New England. You have a very dry sense of humor.
Very dry.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that. So,
And he is dry throughout this interview, but wait till he starts to get into like his arrest experience. The FBI took him to jail, put him in leg shackles, and he had to wait until his court hearing, of which then they released him, and then he had the papers to know what exactly he was even being charged for, which was like election interference for posting this meme. Absolutely unreal. We got a couple super chats that came in. Shout out to Anonymous, throws in $4 and says, just read the life of Saint Nectarius of Aegina. Which life of a saint do you recommend I read next? Love your vids. Well, thank you so much, Anonymous. To whoever you are out there, God bless you. Thank you for the support. I would recommend you could read my patron saint, St. Patrick of Ireland. Most people know about his life, but I would highly recommend this one right here. St. Paisios of the Holy Mountain. If you haven't read this one, check this one out. This is a great book right here on St. Paisios. So if you haven't checked that one out, it's a collector's. You want to add this to your Orthodox library. So if you have the opportunity, Anonymous, whoever sent in the super chat, grab that book. I highly recommend it. You'll enjoy it. Also, we had 2 super chats come in over on Streamlabs. Let me highlight those. First one came in from Storm the Cat. Storm the Cat throws in $5 and says, I saw Ben Shapiro video one time and it was so boring. Yeah, I never got into the whole Ben Shapiro, humiliating and smashing blue-haired leftists at university campuses. Seems like low-hanging fruit to me, but, it is what it is. But thank you so much, Storm the Cat, for your support, brother. And then BMX 1966 throws in $10. Thank you so much, brother, for your continual support. Truly appreciate it. No comment. So thank you very much, BMX 1966, Storm the Cat, and our anonymous super chatter. Thank you guys very much. Okay, let's get back.
Did you get a sense when you posted that was a crime, or that it would be perceived as a crime?
No, absolutely not.
So we have to, and I want to play this. This is from Hillary Clinton. This is from this April, so long after you were indicted, long after you went on trial. And this is Hillary Clinton describing that meme.
There was just a trial in Brooklyn where a guy who had been one of the main, I guess he was one of the main people running memes against me in 2016.
Main people. He posted one meme, and she says he's one of the main people. What is this woman talking about? Obviously, she's a liar, so it doesn't matter.
He went from what you could consider free speech. I mean, both Nancy and I have pretty thick skins. People say all kinds of things about us. But he went from that to running a very deliberate effort to mislead people about where and how to vote. Yeah. So it went from speech to action meant to subvert the election, because thousands of people who they targeted through their algorithms, I can text my vote for Hillary Clinton.
So Hillary Clinton, I want to deconstruct that in some greater detail in a minute, but Hillary Clinton apparently took that very seriously. You were using quote, algorithms to subvert the election with that meme.
I don't even really know what she means by that. I don't know how, I guess you post something and it gets taken up into algorithms. I'm not exactly sure. I was surprised that she said that.
Did you have personal algorithms that you used?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just copy, paste, and click a button.
Yeah. So like everyone else on social media, you see something funny, you post it.
That's right.
Okay. So describe the rest of your career on Twitter. So you're enthusiastic about Trump. I assume, are you being paid to post these things?
No. Nobody's paying me.
You're just a random guy who's amusing the hell out of yourself by pushing your candidate on social media.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So then what happens? How long were you on Twitter?
Until 2018, mid 2018.
Okay. But this criminal tweet is from 2016.
Okay. November.
So at any point, did you think that you committed a crime, or that others would think that you committed a crime?
No.
When did you discover that you were considered a felon by the U.S. government?
Well, I had 8 to 10 law enforcement agents come and knock on my door at 7 a.m. 7 days after Joe Biden was inaugurated.
Did you have any warning that this was coming?
No, no warning.
So what were you doing at 7 in the morning?
I was sleeping.
So you're asleep, you hear a knock, and then what happens?
And then the FBI, are you Doug Mackey? Yes. What's going on? Like, I asked them, they said, we have a warrant for your arrest. I said, what for? For what? They didn't tell me until I got to the courthouse.
Did they cuff you?
Yes.
The FBI threw handcuffs on you at your home at 7 in the morning and didn't tell you why?
Yes.
Did you have any idea why?
No, I had no idea.
What was going through your mind?
I knew that politicians could be vindictive, and the federal government sometimes could be influenced by those politicians, and I know that they can sort of get very creative with federal statutes. So if I was the enemy of their candidate, then I thought maybe they could cook something up.
But this was an entire election cycle later.
That was the weird part. But I knew that we had just had a transition of presidents. So
7 days after Biden gets inaugurated, you get arrested for a tweet
4 years earlier. Yeah.
What was your reaction?
You know, it's crazy. I was a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't put anything past, what they can do.
I remember reading that and thinking, clearly I'm missing something. You probably murdered somebody, or put strychnine in a water supply or something. It can't really be that you just tweeted something. The previous election cycle had there were 10 FBI agents?
There were 4 FBI agents, and then they had some local cops and that kind of thing.
But 10 law enforcement officers?
Yeah.
Were you waving a gun and screaming, "You'll never take me alive"?
Not quite.
So you're just like some random guy?
Yeah, it was shocked. I had roommates at the time. They were in disbelief. They couldn't believe it.
They must have assumed you were like a drug kingpin or something.
Yeah, pretty much. They thought I had some kind of secret that I was hiding or something. They were really shocked when they found out what it was.
Yeah, I was too. And it turned out, by the way, fast forward to your trial, it turns out your crime was exactly what you said it was, posting a tweet. So what happened then?
So they took me to the courthouse, and because it was COVID, there were some delays. I was in a holding cell. They take off your handcuffs and put you in leg irons. And then you just wait for your arraignment, go before the judge. Even then, I still don't know why I'm being arrested. They got a public defender on Zoom speaking for you. And then...
Wait, you're in leg irons and you have no idea why you were arrested?
Yeah, exactly. And not until I got a copy of the criminal complaint did I know what was going on.
At what point was that?
After the arraignment, and they let you go. They take the leg irons off, and they put you on the streets of West Palm Beach.
They didn't bring you home?
No.
How far is that from your house?
20 miles. But the worst part is I was going to bring my phone, my wallet, so I could call a friend or take a taxi home. They said, "Oh, no, you don't need that. You don't need that. That's just going to delay things for you. You'll get out. It'll take longer for you to get out. So don't bring that." So my friends were waiting for me outside, and then they didn't know how long it was going to be, so they left. So I get out of there, and fortunately, there was a really nice taxi driver that, one of the guys I was in a holding cell with, he helped me make it over to the train station where I could grab a taxi.
Your new prison friends were helping you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You join a gang?
No.
I'm sorry to make light of it. I just don't know. I mean, in the old America, this would provoke an uprising. You can't do that. You're not allowed to arrest people for criticizing you. But the reaction to your arrest was very different. Describe it, if you would.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of support, but I was on Rachel Maddow that night. I mean, they were the left was really celebrating this.
They were celebrating.
They thought it was terrific.
To arrest you for making fun of Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I mean, you're from this country. You grew up here. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised, but I got to tell you, after the left has sort of done a 180 since 2016.
So if they celebrated your imprisonment, why wouldn't they celebrate your execution?
Some of them would.
Clearly.
I think so.
What kind of support did you get?
Well, I got to thank you for you showcased my arrest on your show. Might have been that night or the next night, and there was just.
By the way, in the back of my mind, I thought we're probably going to find out that Doug Mackey works for Al Qaeda. I mean, there's got to be a story.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people felt that way.
Well, it would have to be. They can't arrest you for making fun of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Anybody who learns the details of my case says, that's it? What's going on? Like, the people that actually learn the details of the case. But there was a tremendous outpouring from the American people that maybe are conservative, but not necessarily. People that support free speech.
Yes.
People that don't support an abusive federal government. So,
yeah, people opposed to fascism. Speaking of Antifa opposes fascism, did they come to your aid?
No.
Oh,
and why we watched this is why I included this in the stream regarding Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, because as I said, as the Overton window is shifting, and certainly it's expanding, as we saw in the previous video, people are noticing things are being discussed in public that weren't discussed 3 years ago, 5 years ago. At the same time, we have a authoritative, tyrannical federal government. And I can't help but think, like, is this going to be a time in which, is the machine going to clamp down on people? Is this, like, again, my theory about X.com is, as I talk about Elon Musk being a gaslighter, he goes on Rogan and he talks about the fears of advanced artificial intelligence and how this is the greatest threat to humanity, and that if it gets programmed by one of these radical leftists, it's going to basically eliminate humans from the planet. Meanwhile, Tesla has one of the most advanced artificial intelligence. Now, okay, I understand. Okay, you're worried about something, therefore you kind of want to beat people to the punch. All right. But like I said in the previous stream, Neuralink is doing human trials right now. Now, they wanted like paraplegic people, disabled people to run their experiments. But from somebody that I talked to, this was clergy, Orthodox clergy. They said that, again, they live around Austin, that there were lines of people waiting and putting their name in to submit to be a test, maybe a test rat with Neuralink. And so Elon Musk, for me, X.com and this freedom of speech without freedom of reach, which is what I experience. People can't find me on X. As I said, it's that is the platform that I'm the most censored on. You can't find my name. You can't find my handle. You have to follow me, or you see somebody else retweet my tweet. That's the only way you can actually like discover me on X.com and follow me. And so what I believe he's doing is he's mapping discourse across the entire planet. And so this is great if you're trying to map the brain of humanity. And if you watch Elon Musk's latest conversation with Joe Rogan, I think there's real credence to this take. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know the intentions of people, but it seems to me like if you had an advanced artificial intelligence, if you have a company like Neuralink, if you are both putting out ideas about the fear of the future in regards to this advanced technology, transhumanism, this stuff like that, but yet also you're creating products to do just that. Seems like X would be a perfect opportunity to purchase Twitter, open up discourse, allow certain people to not get, again, the reach. They can't go viral in that sense, but you can map through algorithms, through artificial intelligence, entire discourse. What are the opinions, the majority opinions of people in India, in China, in Russia, in all these different places? That is an immense power. It's almost kind of like the Batman movie when they use the cell phones to track people and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's kind of my sentiments in regards to X. I don't trust Elon Musk at all. But the fact that, again, Douglas Mackey here is being persecuted by the federal government, you wonder if this stuff that's happening right now, the expansion of the Overton window, is going to come back to haunt some people, and that they're going to, especially, again, like I said, I speculate we may not have a presidential 2024 election. We may go into, some sort of weird false flag lockdown of the government. There may be another pandemic, whatever. It may be martial law. Who knows? But yeah, I think that these things are tied. They seem sort of disparate. Like, how does Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and all this stuff relate to Douglas Mackey? Well, look at the government. At the same time, as I said, what I see happening right now, it's like the frog in the pot. The water's getting hot. And Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, everybody in this live chat who's noticing things are happening. It's like the frog's trying to jump out. And you, at the same time, with Douglas Mackey, this is a key instance of the powers that be trying to slam the pot shut, make sure nobody can get out.
Well, they didn't.
No.
I'm thinking they're not sincere. What about the ACLU?
They cheered on my arrest.
The ACLU cheered on your arrest?
Yeah.
On what grounds?
Because they said I don't think they care that much about the First Amendment anymore.
No, it's only the American Civil Liberties Union. Yeah.
They were more interested in the idea that there was this effort to stop people from exercising their right to vote. So they chose that. They chose to support it on that ground.
So let's get to that claim, because that's the heart of it. So Hillary Clinton, whatever her faults, who really has become a vicious person, a hater, sort of dismisses out of hand that you have a First Amendment right to make fun of her.
We got a super chat that came in by Ed Poe. Shout out to Ed Poe. Let me pull that up. Ed Poe throws in $10 and says, "You just keep getting better and better at these streams. Hope this helps a little. God bless you." Well, thank you very much, Ed Poe, for the $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. And I hope they're getting better, but I do appreciate that. I appreciate the support, and I appreciate everybody who's here. So thank you guys very, very much. If you want to show some love, feel free to send in a super chat on YouTube or Dono Chat in the Streamlabs link. Both of those links are in the video description. Any YouTube super chat will be brought up on screen as Ed Poe's. Smash that like, everybody. Thank you very much for being here.
And she does that by saying that people say all kinds of things about us, but his went from running a very deliberate effort to mislead people about where and how to vote, an effort to subvert the election, because thousands of people who they targeted through their algorithms thought, oh, I can text my vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, just to restate, you had no, quote, algorithms.
No. Hillary
Clinton has no idea what an algorithm is, needless to say. So you were a solo operator. You're one guy on your laptop. But the claim is that you somehow stole people's right to vote. Is there any evidence that that's true?
No, and the government said that they didn't have to show any evidence of that at trial. They said that the fact that there was a conspiracy was enough. They went around and interviewed people because they would have loved to put someone on the stand who didn't vote because they thought they could text their vote. They couldn't find a single person. They couldn't even find people that they went and looked up people that texted the number, supposedly 4 years ago, and they couldn't even remember doing it, or they thought it was silly and they wanted to see what would happen.
They actually interviewed people? How did they know who these people were?
They subpoenaed their phone numbers.
Not really.
So think about that. The federal government, the FBI, to prosecute a guy who posted a meme about Hillary Clinton in 2016, subpoenaed the phone records and tracked anybody who texted or reposted the meme to see if they believed it to be real, and they couldn't find anybody. They subpoenaed people's phone records who had nothing to do with it. That's crazy. That's outrageous.
Yes. And their voting records.
What did this effort cost?
I have no idea.
But millions of dollars.
It had to have cost that much.
So the government couldn't find a single person whose vote was, as Hillary Clinton said, subverted by your tweet?
No, and they look very hard.
How is it a conspiracy?
So there were some group chats where people were creating these memes.
Yes.
And I was a member of some of them. Some of them I wasn't even a member of. And they said that because these people are in this group chat talking about creating memes, that you're a part of the conspiracy. Even though I wasn't talking in these group chats, really participating in them at all, I wasn't paying any attention to them.
So your trial, and we still live in a country where trials are mostly public. I'm sure that will change, and it'll be a pure military tribunal, Star Chamber, drumhead proceeding. But at this point, like, your trial took place in public, and we can get the transcript and all that. So the media knew that there was no actual crime here. Did anybody from the Associated Press or NBC News or the Washington Post, New York Times, re-examine this case or take a close look at the case and say, wait a second, the guy didn't do anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
And these are crimes for which you could have spent 10 years in prison.
Right.
It felt to me like the media were cheerleading your prosecution.
Oh yeah, definitely. Some of them.
By calling you a bigot.
Absolutely.
Huh. I don't think you are a bigot, I assume. But even if you were, that you're allowed to have your own views, correct?
Right, yeah. No, I'm not a bigot, but like I said, this is America.
Right. So why did you get convicted?
So I got convicted. That's a great question. They basically put 12 people in a courthouse in Brooklyn and say, it's up to you to decide whether this meme was satire or whether it was an effort to trick people out of voting. So they get to decide. 12 people, they can drag you into a courthouse anywhere in the country because they say, since it's tweets, they go over wires, so they can charge this crime wherever they please. So if you post a joke on the internet, a prosecutor could be the most conservative district or the most liberal district in America can drag you in and put you in front of 12 people who are going to decide whether you were joking. They're going to decide what your intent was.
Did you think you were going to be acquitted?
To be honest with you, no. I thought maybe the jury would hang, but I didn't think we would get 12 jurors voting for acquittal.
Do you have any idea why they voted to convict?
I don't really have a lot of insight into that, but with this kind of a charge, they don't need direct evidence to convict you.
So really, unless I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, you were convicted on the basis of what they claimed your intent was.
That's exactly right.
They could not find a single person who was harmed by this. They could find no actual effect of this so-called subversion of our democracy. You didn't actually subvert our democracy. There's no evidence that you did.
No.
But they claimed that you wanted to.
They claimed that I wanted to and that I agreed to enter into a conspiracy with other people.
Were those people charged?
One of them was. He cooperated.
Cooperated? In what way?
He testified at trial that we had a silent agreement.
To subvert democracy?
That's right.
Did you?
Well, I don't know how you can have a silent agreement with someone 1,000 miles away over the internet.
Had you ever met this person?
No, never met him. I didn't even, at the time, November 2016, I had never even spoken to him one-on-one, or I don't even think in a group chat.
What role did the Huffington Post play in this case?
So I was posting pseudonymously. So they doxed me in 2018.
So you were not using your real name, as
That's right.
Many people don't, both on the internet and in literature.
And of course, Nikki Haley, I think her real name's Nimrata. I don't know if you guys saw her going, making the round on all the mainstream media is talking about how, oh, her plan for social media is she's going to open up the algorithms and she's going to expose what the algorithms and what these companies are pushing. And also she wants to make it that to be on any social media, you cannot be anonymous and you have to use your real name. She doesn't even use her real name. Nikki Haley is a fake name. Her real name, let's look up her real name real quick. Nikki Haley. It's like Nimrata. Yes. Nimrata Randhawa. That is her real name. That's what this woman's real name is. She goes by a fake name, Nikki Haley, and she's trying to push legislation forward that nobody's allowed to be on a social media, or she wants to. Of course, I don't think she'd be able to, but she wants to make it where you have to use your real name. You have to be verified by your social security number, your government ID, all this different stuff, so that they can track every single thing that you post, essentially making it exactly like China, right? Which, of course, our leaders love. I don't know if you guys watched the generous welcoming Xi Jinping had when he came to San Francisco, street filled with Chinese flags, but I digress.
And a Huffington Post reporter decided to reveal your true identity.
Yes.
Who was the reporter?
Luke O'Brien.
Luke O'Brien. How did he find out who you were?
Just through some basically people that leaked my name to him, basically.
Huh.
Disgruntled people or whatever you want to call it.
So because Luke O'Brien did this, you were arrested and faced 10 years in prison.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, their criminal complaint basically was just using what Luke O'Brien did.
So it sounds like, in effect, Luke O'Brien, like so many journalists, is actually working for the national security state in order to imprison and destroy people who dissent.
Could be.
Does it sound that way a little bit?
I have my suspicions, I guess.
Boy, you are from Vermont. I'm tempted to ask you, how do you get there from here? You have a right to be anonymous on the internet, obviously. Luke O'Brien's supposed to be like a reporter or something, and he's spending his time trying to discover your identity because he doesn't like your politics. What was the effect, other than the federal indictment, of being doxxed by the Huffington Post?
It was very difficult, personally, for me. Very hard on my family, very hard on myself, and very hard on my friends. So it was very difficult. You know, I lost a lot at the time, but I think it was also...
So tell me what you lost.
So I lost basically just friends. I had difficult relationships with family members, and I just had to restart everything.
Because you were revealed to have said naughty things on the internet?
That's right. Yeah.
Does sound kind of Soviet, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
Huh. Are you afraid to go to prison?
I don't think so.
How many guys from your class at Middlebury have gone to prison?
None that I'm aware of.
None that you're aware of, right? I mean, so I guess kind of what I'm saying is you're not from a world where it was expected you would wind up facing a prison term.
No.
How has this changed your view of the United States?
Well, I don't know if that we're a free country. I'm not sure. I have my doubts, like I said.
So if you can be thrown in prison for making fun of Hillary Clinton, I mean, does set a precedent, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the scary thing is, if they think that you're, conspiring on the internet, they can subpoena your entire life and dig through everything you've got. So, I mean, it sets a very dangerous precedent. Not only the fact that they can pick you up and drag you to whatever federal district they want in the entire country, because tweets go over wires.
Well, you made fun of Hillary Clinton in 2016 in a pretty lighthearted way, by the way. It's obvious now that she's evil. I mean, she would be delighted to see you go to prison, and that's evil. Just say it out loud. Mm-hmm. Did you know that about her when you mocked her in 2016?
I don't know. I saw what she...
I mean, any politician who roots for her critics to go to prison is by definition like, that's Idi Amin territory.
Well, let me just put it this way. I saw her reaction to when Gaddafi was murdered, so.
Yeah. I think if anything, we understated her darkness. Did members of Congress come out in support of you?
Some have, actually, yes.
In a meaningful way, in a way that helped you?
I mean, I'm very grateful for it. I don't know I don't know how much power they have. I mean, they can maybe open investigations, that kind of thing. But so far, there have been some that have been supportive.
Have any traditional liberals, other than Glenn Greenwald, come out in support of you?
Very few and far between. It's been very few and far between. There are a couple and more libertarian types and some liberals, some who even might say like, oh, we don't like this. We thought this was a bad thing, rather than just a shitpost or a joke. But, should we be charging these things with 10-year federal felonies?
Should we, like it's an open question, should we really execute him? So where does this leave you in life?
So, I mean, like I said, I'm just very grateful. I'm very fortunate to have the support that I've gotten. Family, friends, and just regular people who have come to my support. So that, hopefully this will be an opportunity and not not, like I said, hopefully this is an opportunity.
An opportunity for what?
Well, there's something redemptive about suffering. So we'll find out.
Yes, I think that's right. But I mean, so in the past several years since you were indicted, like how much of your life has been spent dealing with this case?
Well, I've got great lawyers that have handled it, a lot of it for me, but definitely a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of preparation for trial. And I think just the stress of it is very difficult, but at the same time, I think that you learn to roll with the punches.
But does it ever, I mean, how much do you fight self-pity?
To be honest with you, I don't like self-pity.
Good. Doug Mackey, good luck.
Thank you.
We're definitely rooting for you. And I'm sorry on behalf of the country that you had to go through this. It's just one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. So that's it, guys. You guys are now up to date on the latest drama between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens and what's happening over at the Daily Wire. Sounds like she's going to be able to keep her job. That, I guess, according to her, if you watch the rest, because I know we didn't watch the whole interview, that sounds like the CEO or some of the other members of the Daily Wire have similar opinions as to her. So she feels very confident about that. But this period right now, I think we're definitely in the expansion of the Overton window, and that political discourse in America is at a new state. It seems like people are speaking about things, be it race, be it Zionism, be it demographics, whatever it may be, politics, election fraud, now the persecution of people who post memes. Very, very strange time we're living in, guys. So very crazy what's going on. But that's going to do it for tonight's stream. I want to double check, make sure we got all the super chats answered. Yeah, better if she left the Daily Wire. Like I said earlier, I'm not the biggest fan of the Daily Wire per se, but it is what it is. If they support people like Matt Walsh talking about the issues he talks about, or Candace Owens, they allow difference of opinion. I know. I think, isn't Jordan Peterson part of the Daily Wire now? And so I don't know. I've never been a big Daily Wire person, but I think she would probably be better off if she went on her own way and built her own thing. But who knows? Who knows? But we're definitely living in crazy times right now. That's for sure. So anyways, I want to thank all the super chatters. Just let me double check, make sure we got everybody, at least everybody over here on YouTube. Special shout out to Testicular Tactics, Petra Garde, Peanut Arbuckle. Shout out to my sister Slowboy Whiteboard. Thank you, Tommy Jones, for joining the community. Shout out to Tatiana for the $20 super chat. And Ed Poe throws in $10 over on Streamlabs. I want to give a special thank you to BMX 1966 for your continual support, and Storm the Cat, as well as the one we had earlier. And then over on Dono Chat, let me see if we had any new ones come in over on Dono Chat. Looks like Blue Skittle throws in $5, no comment. Again, special thank you to the anonymous super chatter asking about Lives of the Saints, Orthodox books. I recommend Saint Paisios. That's a modern saint. I think it's very impactful, and it's a great read. Shout out to Orpheus for his $5 super chat, Dave for a $25 super chat, and John Bowlerman. Thank you guys very, very much for that. And everybody out there, I just want to say smash that like. Truly appreciate everybody's support. God bless you all. Really do appreciate it. Let's see what everybody's saying here. Kit Spiken says, don't let the little man force you out. Force him to breach his contract. Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. I'm sure they're making quite a bit of money. I think the Daily Wire has over 1 million people who pay. 1 million people who pay. And I think their membership, I don't know if it's like $5 to $10. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of monthly income outside of products and stuff that they're doing. So the Daily Wire definitely has funds for everything. That's for sure. Let's see. Fitness Chick over on Twitch says, what was Ben Shapiro attacking Candace Owens on? Well, for not being a vocal supporter of the state of Israel. And so I covered that at the beginning of the stream, Fitness Chick 4. So if you want, you can kind of scroll back. I know you're on Twitch. I don't even think I have a following on Twitch, but I do stream over there. You can go over to the YouTube channel, Church of the Eternal Logos. That's where the majority of the community is. Or you can find the stream also on David Patrick Carey on YouTube. So thank you. Pim Orsov throws in a super sticker of $5. Thank you so much, Pim, for all your support too, brother. God bless you, man. Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much. And looks like everybody is the eagle has landed. Yeah, that's right. Slow Boy Whiteboard says, I hope your cold clears up, Pat. Give our love to Jenny. Great stream. Thank you so much, Kristen. God bless you and the family. I wish you guys nothing but the best. And I apologize if any coughing or the one time I had to blow my nose got in the way. And then good night, guys. Take care. Heidi, shout out to Heidi EB. She says, thank you. Thank you, Heidi, for all your support. Really appreciate you, sister. Gigi says, good stream. Thanks, DPH. Well, thank you. Our beloved Dr. Crispy Rothschild, our global elitist here in the live chat, says thank you. Thumbs up. Thank you very much, Dr. Crispy Rothschild. And Mr. Mann says, looking for a parish. The two closest to my house are Antiochian and OCA. Do you have a recommendation? Well, I will get to that, Kristen. Mr. Mann, I would recommend first going to the parishes because I'm Antiochian, and obviously the OCA, unfortunately, has a reputation of being a little bit more liberal-minded. But that's not always true. There are very liberal parishes. There can be, and there's much more traditional parishes. And I've been to OCA churches that are fantastic. So I recommend, Mr. Mann, going to the parish, checking it out, checking the vibe, go to the fellowship and speak with the priest. You want to make sure the biggest thing about your parish is you want to make sure you have the right spiritual father. And so go to the parish, talk with the priest, and if you feel more comfortable with the priest at the OCA parish versus the Antiochian, then do that. Generally speaking, in regards to jurisdictions, the Antiochian is a little bit better than the OCA. And we have a new Metropolitan Saba who, from my understanding, so far he's been really good. And from my understanding, he's much more traditional than our previous Metropolitan in the Antiochian jurisdiction. So take that for what it is. But, I don't advise just choosing a church solely based on the jurisdiction because it really depends on the priest. There are fantastic Greek parishes and OCA parishes because the priests are phenomenal. So just go in, check it out, and see which one fits you better. Oh man, our beloved Frankie D throws in $9.99. Thank you so much, Frankie D. He says, Bro Sama, last minute slider. God bless. Well, thank you so much, Frankie D, brother. I really appreciate all the support that you keep giving me. So thank you very much, Frankie D. God bless you, brother. I hope you and the family are doing well. But Kristen had a great point. She went and looked, and that she said the Daily Wire, it's a $21 monthly Daily Wire subscription. So they have over 1 million people, according to from my sources, looking stuff up, over 1 million people paying $21 a month. That's a lot of cash. That's a pretty good membership model. So yeah, Daily Wire's got plenty of money, that's for sure. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Smash that like. And I'm going to be back tomorrow night doing the stream that I was initially going to do tonight, but given the drama between Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, I thought this would be the perfect night to hop on and kind of discuss that. So I'll be back tomorrow doing a stream on insanity. And we'll be looking at what appears to be the perpetuation and the spread of insanity in our society, and looking at the decline of insane asylums, and then looking at how our society, as before, insane asylums were places in which mentally handicapped people or whatnot had mental problems, were sort of relegated to those confines. And now it's our society. Our entire society seems to be an insane asylum. So I'll be presenting that thesis tomorrow night. And so I hope to see you guys then. But as always, until tomorrow night, God bless.